Hey guys, I'm Rachel O'Leary and I am taking advantage of a beautiful day in the 70s out here in the greenhouse to do a little bit of work. I had to repot some orchids, which I did, and I mixed up some CP mix, and unfortunately for me I thought the camera was on, but it's not. So I'll just tell you about what I'm doing. Basically what I'm doing is prepping a soil mix to have for when it's time to split all my plants. Probably late March is when I'll do that. But you have to soak the peat, so it takes a while. And basically what I've done is a mix of peat, sphagnum, and then coarse blasting sand. And I just mixed it up, about 1 part sand to 2 parts of the peat. And it's all very moist and delicious and sitting in this tub, and then I'll just cover this up and leave it for when I need to repot. There's a lot of my plants that could probably benefit from bigger pots, so I'm hoping with this greenhouse going, I'll be able to do that in March instead of end of April, early May. The other thing that I'm going to be working on today is I need to level out and fill all these black bins to start with my passive heating system. But I got to thinking, this winter I'm going to have all the panels shut, and if I do that and I have all this open water, I was worried that the humidity level would get too high. So I went to my big box hardware store and picked up some corrugated polyethylene panels, which are basically greenhouse panels, that I can cut to fit over the top of each of the bins as a lid so that the humidity doesn't get too high. And I picked up a digital humidity and temperature probe that I'll leave out here, and I'll leave the Wi-Fi readout in the house so that I can keep an eye on how humid it's getting in here. Since I don't have my circulation fans set up for winter time, I was a little worried that my densely potted carnivorous plants would start to mold or mildew. So far they look fine, but again I still, oh my word, that scared the crap out of me. So far they look fine, but again I still have the panels opening during the heat of the day. So what I'm going to work on today is just smoothing out some of these rocks and getting these bins in their winter placement, and then filling them up, cutting lids, and getting those on there. I'm sure many of you guys have seen the corrugated plastic idea. I know Joey from King of DIY uses it a whole lot for lids for aquariums, and I thought it would be a really affordable solution for the greenhouse. They were on sale for $10 for a 4-foot section. 4 foot by 2 foot section. That's pretty cheap. I think it cost me $40 to do all these bins. Again, today it's supposed to get up into the 70s, which is very warm. So I figured it was as good a day as any to sort of get things buttoned up in here. So I'm going to get to work. Again, this is my potting mix. You can see it is sand, peat, and some lawn fiber sphagnum. I had purchased some perlite, but I didn't realize I purchased Miracle-Gro brand, and Miracle-Gro brands, why can't I say that today? Miracle-Gro brands in general are a real no-no for carnivorous plants because they often contain fertilizers, which will burn the roots of the plants. So I didn't add the perlite. Normally I would add a bit of perlite in here. And again, this is like a 1 part sand to 2 part moss and peat, and it's very moist and delicious. So this is just an old feed trash can I had around from when we had a lot more rabbits. Since we only have 1 rabbit, I gave it a smaller container and stole this one for my carnivorous plant mix. So I'm just going to throw the lid on that and get to work on the other stuff. So what I've done is gone through, remove all the bins, flatten the surface underneath, and take a level to make sure they are at least mostly level. And now I'm just running the garden hose out to these bottom bins. Again, we need about 3 gallons per square foot, which would be about 70 gallons or 10 bins full. And I have 7 or 8 that I can fill immediately right now, possibly even 9 to help with this. And then once they're full, starting down there at the end, then we'll cut the lids and toss them on top as well. So this is that polycarbonate, basically greenhouse roof, but it's the real cheap, thin, single ply stuff. And it works pretty well. It's not quite a perfect fit, but for about $5 a lid, I think it's going to be way better than nothing. And if it doesn't end up being enough, I can always take some tape and seal in the edges. I mean, these are essentially being heat batteries. So I think it'll work out fine. I have to tell you guys, I thought about titling this video, you know, Naked Fish Hula Dance or something crazy, because about every third or fourth video of mine gets demonetized no matter what it is. And it's really starting to frustrate me. So if you ever see a crazy title like that pop up, you'll know why. Another thing I had to do is I sort of split my carnivorous plants into these 4 rows of bins. I was concerned that it was too humid in here. I was worried they were going to get moldy. I think when it gets a bit colder outside, that won't be an issue, and I'll be able to condense them a bit more. But for now, when it's still relatively mild, or at least in the greenhouse, right now it's about 85 in the greenhouse. I actually had to change into a tank top. It's so warm. But again, I think this is going to be one of our last warm days of the fall. And then it's just going to get progressively colder. So I'm basically playing a waiting game. You know, I'm just waiting for it to get cold enough for me to insulate the plants more and to sort of see what I expect. I think getting that digital probe for in here for me to be able to monitor the temperature and the humidity in the house is going to be really, really helpful for me to get an idea or a baseline of what's going on down here. For the rest of today, I'm just going to work on filling these bottom bins. I'm going to move the rainwater in from outside for these top ones for now. And then I have a bunch of work to do in the fish room as well, because that's never ending. But as always, I want to thank you guys for watching. I'm really enjoying this whole new project. My husband's been a massive help, so I can't say thanks enough to Chris. He's been out here with me almost every day that I've been out here, helping me cut things, helping me measure things, helping me decide on materials. And, you know, having his involvement, even though he's not a fish guy, is really huge for me. So when your spouse does something, or your partner, or your significant other does something to help you, make sure you tell them you appreciate it. That's one way to get a non-fish person to support your fishy habits. So I may or may not continue filming out here, but, you know, I feel like I got a lot done. I got my CP mix made, the potting mix, got the bins leveled, Chris cut the lids for me, and I'm starting to get them filled. Not bad.